Hello, my name is Myrelle Jiménez, and today I'm going to present to you the topic I've been working on. It's called Emergent Remote Education Curriculum and Teenagers' Engagement in the COVID-19 Online English Classes. So let's begin with the statement of the problem. When the COVID-19 crisis started, everyone was forced to go into an online setting. So it was an emergent online setting, and it didn't really fit because online classes often adopt a learner-centered approach. And of course, the constructivist theory, which is you already have something and we're going to build something else from that base. When this happened, the courses did not have a learner-centered approach. They were just intended to be the normal regular classes, but taken from a computer, which don't really fit the system and the profile of the students who are indeed in the necessity of using the online environment. In this kind of setting, the teacher should be a guide. The teacher should take the students, not by the hand, but give them the tools so the students can get by themselves to whatever knowledge they must gain. So the teacher is merely a guide and it's a coach and provides the tools. It is not the bearer of the knowledge they should have. And by this, the teacher should have some kind of feedback about it. So students should display their skills in different tasks that the teacher should be able to check, assess, correct, comment about, give feedback, etc., etc. Of course, there are many different tasks. We cannot expect to have only one kind of task. Discussions, interactions, exercises, they should be able to create something, present, do videos, etc., etc., etc. However, because this was not in the curriculum, learner verification was proven to be difficult in online students because they were not properly engaged in the classes. They were not willing, they were just there to fill the, I guess, some kind of criteria put up by their schools in order to complete a level or so. So learning verification was something difficult to get from students when they are not engaged. They don't want to turn in tasks. They don't want to do. They don't turn on their cameras. They don't speak to each other. All right, so let's begin. We are talking about the curriculum. The curriculum is the program any institution has for their kind of education, for their kind of school that it is. There are many kinds of schools, and each one of them has a curriculum. And of course, it includes the intentions, values. It mentions the attitudes, both from teachers and students, the beliefs the school works with, the skills that should be practiced, and at the end, the skills that students should have and prove they can do. And of course, the knowledge, which is also oftentimes tested by some kind of exam. That's what education is about, and that's the curriculum. It is the system where all of these things are listed. They have steps, they have activities that should be done in order to achieve it. Now, what are the differences? Because it is spoken a lot about distance education, online education, and oftentimes they are confused. So what is the difference? Distance education has been around for a long, long time. It dates back to the 1800s. So there was not even telephone. It was only mail at this point. So a university would send the program, the tasks, the readings, et cetera, and students should solve them and send it back. We have some examples here, the OERs, the MOOCs, and the main objective of distance education was to get to a wider audience that didn't have the possibilities to attend physically to a university, whether it be because of the distance, because of money issues, because of family, etc., etc. So that is distance education. Online education, of course, refers to the use of a computer and internet. That's it. What do we have right here? Pre-recorded online courses, the one the person works by themselves. Video conferencing classes, which became popular right now because of the COVID-19. Blended courses, which include both video conferencing and pre-recorded. Of course, online education was always planned to be for the online setting, and it builds from the constructivist theory. And then we have what happened in the COVID-19. It became emergent online education. Emergent because it was from an emergency. This refers to the unplanned quick change in education that was forced to take as a temporary fix. That means it was never thought to be something permanent. It was just temporary to attend to this emergency and to this need of education that was happening. Now, here is a little chart of how usually an online course is prepared. First, a needs analysis needs to be conducted, students' needs, students' opinions, and what the students have is what plays into the information from here. Then from the needs analysis, we take all the information we have and we create an online curriculum. And from that online curriculum, you offer it to the community, you open it. And then the students choose this modality. That means they voluntarily attend. So they go to this online and all of these factors make it a successful course. If we are talking about the COVID-19, we can see what happened. There was no needs analysis conducted, of course. This was done on a quick moment in a second. There was an attempt of adaptation from the curriculum, from the face-to-face curriculum to the online curriculum. It was not offered to the community, it was forced. If students wanted to pass to the next level or access the next school year, they had to do it. It was forced, it was not voluntarily. And students had to study in this modality. They did not choose to study in this modality. So as you can see, many factors contributed to for this to not be successful even from the beginning. Now, what is the learner-centered approach? The learner-centered approach, of course, puts the student in the center, and the student has to get access to all kinds of information. The student needs to be able to move, to create, to ask, to investigate. And the only thing that the teacher does is coaching, it's prepare the activities that are better so that the student can get to the answer that they need. There's also power sharing. That means the teacher is not the only one who decides, but also takes the ideas and the suggestions from the students. So students and teacher are the ones that can plan. We have a little table over here about the students' engagement, how it is divided. Engagement is divided in behavioral, cognitive, and emotional. And over here, we have some indicators about each one of the three kinds of engagement. These indicators are not the only indicators, but these are the ones that were taken into account for this study. Then we have the definition of engagement, which is the desire, willingness, and disposition a student has towards school, classes, learning, tasks, of course, their teachers and their figures. And there are some observable elements that the students display, meaning tasks, videos, doing questions when they ask questions that indicates they are engaged, for example. the effort, the constants, and the feelings they are showing you through the class you are giving. This, of course, affects their ideas and how they are getting along in this class. The idea is that it affects their context and, of course, from the better. And at the end, when they are engaged and they are working, they're doing efforts, they can display something they have created, or a final result they can present. And by presenting something at the end, that works as a motivator that they can continue with the learning and education. Of course, there are some other, the involvement and interest students display in the 3 dimensions that we saw in the chart before: behavioral, cognitive, and emotional. Here are some examples. Some indicators are participation in class, lack of behavioral problems, academic effort, motivation, awareness, and self-assessment, which is very necessary in online setting, the self-assessment. We have over here some engagement dimensions, right? Academic effort, lack of conduct problems. We have the indicators that in this study were used: how much homework, tasks, and class participation each student presents. That relates to behavioral engagement. Students who are engaged tend to enjoy the class and participate actively. So when they are asking questions, or when the teacher sends a question and they are answering, that is a good indicator. We have willingness to participate and motivation. Willingness to participate, as we mentioned, asking questions, making comments, posting online, and teamwork. When you send them to breakout rooms, for example, or you give them a task, they have to work together and they have to meet outside class hours. This is emotional engagement. And we have some motivation here, which are intrinsic and extrinsic, depending on what they want, right? Extrinsic is when, for example, they need to get a grade to be able to pass. Intrinsic is when they are eager to learn and they participate even more so they can get better. But that comes from within, and that relates to emotional engagement. Now, one factor that has proven to be very, very important and crucial with student engagement is teacher engagement, which not a lot of people talk about. There are 3 kinds of engagement: physical, cognitive, and emotional, which are very similar to the student engagement. These are some indicators from teacher engagement, which we're going to discuss a little bit more. Along with the teacher motivation, we have teacher presence online. These teacher presence are basic, so the teacher can be seen as a figure and create some importance to students in the online setting. These 3 elements are social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence, and they all refer to different things. We have the indicators also right here of each one of them. What is teacher engagement? Teacher engagement, as we mentioned, also has 3 dimensions similar to the students' engagement, but the indicators, of course, are related to teaching and classes. However, when we're talking about online classes, we tend to use more the term teaching presence. It refers to the elements that the teacher needs for the preparation of the lessons, such as the design. Remember that the teacher needs to provide the steps so the student can get to the knowledge by themselves. Facilitation and direction of both cognitive process as well as process needed for the society. Even though we are in an online setting, society still exists. So we need to think of that element, their context. And all of these elements have to work together so we can have a successful class that takes our students to the intended learning. Now, what is the purpose of this story, of this study? We thought that by promoting engagement more online participation can be reached and assessed, because remember, if they are engaged, they are going to give you the elements as a teacher to be able to say if it is successful or not, if they have learned or not. So the purpose of this study was to study engagement in the Emergent online setting for a private language school with a big one in a teens group. We have the research questions. What factors or conditions affect students' engagement in online courses? What strategies promote more effort, persistence, concentration, discussion, class participation, and contribution in online classes? To what extent do the disposition, participation, and attitudes the students display in the online classes improve by all the elements we change? We are going to, the methodology is action research. We're going to have observations, we're going to have some kind of journals and recordings of the classes. There were videos and they are then converted into audio scripts. Now the participants were 5 teens in the B1 course, 12 to 15 years old, 3 girls and 2 boys in a private language center. This is a very specific profile. Now, these are the results that we can report. Some factors that affect the student engagement in this research were teacher engagement and sense of community in the group. So that means as much as the teacher was engaged, it got the same engagement from the students. So it works as a mirror effect. And the sense of community, that means the social aspect in the classes was very neglected because they couldn't be in contact with each other. So by building a sense of community within the group, having them work together and make them see that they are still a group really helped. The strategies that were here proven more effective was brainstorming, teamwork, games, and discussion with one another. Now, please notice that many of them required them to work with each other or against each other, creating this sense of community that they have. The engagement indicator shifted to a positive. They had more disposition, they had more participation, voluntary, and when the teacher asked about it. And we have some examples right here. In this session, we saw the feelings, the disposition to share, the participation. The teacher asked how they were that day. That is a normal, regular question teachers asked. And then the question changed to how was your day today? It's not how are you today, which is a very bland question, and usually the answer is fine. So how was your day today changed everything. It was good. Why? I went to school, face-to-face class. I can touch or share my food, blah, blah, blah. So they started talking about their day, how it was, what they did, and how they felt. Student 2, how was your day today? Not so good because I have a lot of homework and I don't like homework, etc., etc. So they are expressing their feelings to the teacher in a very informal kind of setting. This is not the class. This is just a little moment we have to share each other about their day-to-day information. This is another example. Teamwork, sense of community and participation. The teacher asked them to brainstorm what they knew about the Bermuda Triangle. They all participated. The teacher asked them to say where they got the information. They all said where they got it. Some even shared the screen to show the video. Voluntary participation. The teacher did not ask them to do this. They chose to do it. The teacher introduced the site snopes.com and asked students to look for information about the Bermuda Triangle. Teachers sent students to compare what was said at the beginning of the class and what is written on the website. And the discussion was amicable and students were laughing, comparing what they had told the teacher. They even shared some TikToks and all these conspiracy theories. They compared them to the facts that were said. So it was a fun activity where it is an activity suggested by the book a little bit, but it was changed to make them fit the necessities of the group. We have the results. We have the teacher presence, social, teaching, and cognitive presence had a lot to do with the students engaging. It works like a mirroring effect. The more the teacher gives the students, the more the students give back to the teacher. In social presence, for example, we have that the teacher shared likes and preferences about video games, and the students responded to theirs. 3 students connected joined in the chat, which once again, it is informal and it is outside the class topics. Here is the example of social presence from the teacher. The teacher was playing video games. That's great, right? That is a motivator. What were you playing that is interest from the student from the teacher to the student? They said the video game, the teacher talks about it, and then the student asks, what do you play, teacher? This is interest they are expressing, and questions. Talked a little bit about Roblox, and when the teacher asked what it is about, then the students started sharing their experience with this game. So as you can see, 3 students joined the chat with their own personal information and asking the teacher about the preferences. The teaching presence, in the curriculum, in the book, the teacher changed the warm-ups, the coolers, and the speaking activities in order to relate them more to their present experience. For example, the book, what life was like. Listening cell phones were huge. Have you ever talked to your parents about technology? What it was like when they were young? How was it different? So it doesn't really relate to them. And it was changed to name 5 things you used to do before the pandemic started that you don't do anymore. That is one topic where they have a lot to talk about because it relates to them. They feel it like it's theirs. Here are some exchanges. Tell me 5 things you used to do before the pandemic. I used to be without face mask. I used to not care about what people like was. I used to like to share. I used to go in person classes. I miss going to school for friends, blah, blah, blah. And so that was a conversation, exchanging feelings and exchanging experiences. Cognitive presence, the teacher gave individual feedback after the exam. The teachers spent 15 to 20 minutes with each student, checking their final exam, showing them their incorrect answers and asking them why it was incorrect. Because let's remember that students need to do their own thinking. The teacher is only a guide. So the teacher can say, this is incorrect. Do you understand why? And this is what happened. I checked the student's exam individually and to specific questions. Do you know why you were incorrect? The student answered, yes, heard is conjugated in past participle, so I can't use it. So they get their own explanations on why it was incorrect. So these are the results. Teacher engagement turned out to be the most important aspect when we want to talk about student engagement, when we want it to be promoted. It works as a mirroring system. When teacher engagement is effectively promoted, student engagement happens as a consequence of it. And slight changes in the curriculum are also useful, as it was proven by modifying the warm-ups, coolers, and speaking activities to make them fit more their experience. And this is all the information. Thank you very much.